Don't apply because someone told you to. Apply because it makes sense. Hi, and welcome to the Law Simplified, the world's largest independent online law school platform. I'm your instructor, Shaveen Bandardanayake. Whether you are an LLB, GDL, or even an LLM student, chances are you might be coming from a system, a jurisdiction, or a program of study that often tells you what to do rather than help you articulate your own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. As a byproduct of this particular mindset and thinking, a lot of students who pursue law in terms of academics and even later on professionally in terms of a career struggle greatly in not just pursuing the law itself but applying it therein and succeeding or thriving in the profession. If you like the type of content that I make on this YouTube channel, do subscribe to the Law Simplified and leave a comment below of what other types of content that you might find helpful. If you are a first, second, or third year law student, I would highly recommend enrolling in the comprehensive online law school platform, complete with theory, tutorial, and workshop lessons based on the actual one-on-ones that I've conducted with first-class law students globally. The reason for this video is because I have noticed a tendency among a lot of students, those who've dropped comments on these YouTube videos, even my fast track and masterclass students, to try and follow, so to speak, rather than think for themselves and articulate responses based on their opinion. Analyzing a scenario is one thing, applying the law to it is another. But understanding the law and why it is that way on a much deeper level is what separates the average from the good from that of the great. What do I mean by this? Oftentimes, if you are a law student, you might find yourself struggling in terms of preparing for an exam or studying a particular module because you are rote learning this. Now, on a few occasions, and in one particular occasion as well, I'll mention it in the description below, I have tried to impress upon all of you that the goal of studying law is not to memorize but to theorize. I've often said that if you understand why certain principles in law or certain rules or regulations are that way, it's much easier to traverse in terms of your study and later on in terms of your professional career as well, rather than having to rote learn something, memorize it, and then commit it to memory purely because someone is saying it. Quite often, we tend to fall into this trap predominantly because we feel like there's overwhelming amount of content, there's substance that we might not be able to cover in the allotted period of preparation, so it's much easier, at least in our minds, to by heart things, to memorize things, and just essentially to apply it when an examination scenario takes place. But this is a fallacy. Yes, you might be able to do so on a few occasions, but on the one hand, you will not be able to get the marks that you feel that you richly deserve in terms of the higher echelons of a second upper or even a first class. And on the other hand, you are actually doing a disservice in the long run to the profession. We have often tried to compare and distinguish between different professions, and in certain circumstances, we become worried that the professional that we are engaging might not fully grasp or understand what he or she is doing. And if we trace that back to how their academics were set and how they prepared for their examinations, it all starts making sense. So, why am I telling you this at this stage? It's really because legal education in the contemporary context is at its peak in terms of the modules you have available to select, even the majors you can combine between cross-pollinating different areas of expertise: management, business, finance, and law. In that context, it makes absolute sense to be able to look at why you're doing something much more than what's available to you. Now, on a number of different occasions, even quite recently, I have tried to impress upon all of you that there is such a thing as versatility in profession. And what I meant by that is that don't just think of the usual cookie cutter outcome of pursuing law. It's not just about becoming a barrister or solicitor. In that same regard, even if you do intend to go the same path as most other students in terms of practicing law, you need not be the same cookie cutter type of lawyer. And by that, I mean separating or distinguishing yourself from others by not just looking and studying and knowing what the law is, but understanding how it works, the mechanics of it. This is what will really distinguish you from everyone else. It's not just from being normal or average to good, but going from good to great as well. And from an academic perspective, this is the difference between passing an examination and acing it. Because your examiner can very clearly see the difference between a student who simply knows what the law is and is able through practice to just apply the principles to the facts, and those who think deeper and think and articulate on a whole other level altogether. That being said, until the next time that we speak, have fun, stay safe, and as always, obey the law.